Hi guys, I'm Brittany from Quarter Acre Roots, where we talk about growing as much as you can on a little bit of space, a quarter acre in my case. And today we are talking about using horticultural vinegar to control weeds. So horticultural vinegar is going to look a little something like this. So it's going to come in a big jug and it's going to be labeled like concentrated vinegar, industrial strength vinegar, commercial vinegar, horticultural vinegar. All those are different labels that you could potentially see it with. This is a 30% horticultural vinegar, which means that it is 30% acid in this vinegar. Now that is compared to like a table vinegar that you would use in the kitchen, which is probably going to be around like 5% vinegar acid. So right off the bat, you know that industrial strength or horticultural vinegar is much stronger than the type of vinegar you would use in the kitchen. And that means you can use it to kill weeds. However, like any other pesticide, and especially with very highly concentrated vinegar, you need to be very careful when you're working with it because it is highly caustic. It will burn your skin. You shouldn't be inhaling it. You should be wearing all of your protective gear over your hands and arms to avoid any splashback when you're working with it, because just because it's labeled with vinegar does not mean it's completely safe to like dump all over your arm or something. So you can dilute this 30% vinegar to use as a weed killer, but I do not with a 30%. I just pour it into an old container that I have written vinegar on here. I use this specifically for my super strong vinegar. And I use this as my spray bottle for spraying weeds around the yard with this 30% vinegar. One thing to be aware of when you are using an industrial strength vinegar to kill weeds is that it is a contact herbicide. So that means that it's not going to kill any part of the plant below the ground. It's only going to kill the foliage above the ground. So this is really only effective on younger annual weeds. If you're dealing with a perennial weed like bindweed, which we have here, a ton of it in my yard, and I've been dealing with eradicating it for a long time now. It is next to impossible without using like glyphosate and things like that. If you're dealing with those, vinegar is only going to kill off the weeds above the surface, which may be helpful for you. It may slow down the spread of your weeds until you can deal with them. So if you use your vinegar to kill perennial weeds and you see them coming back, that's because it only kills the structure of the plant that's above the ground. It does not go down into the plant and kill the roots. Here's an example of the weed that we are coming out to spray today. This is a dead nettle, and it is a very young annual weed here. It sprouts up all throughout the winter in Maryland Zone 7A. So what I'm going to do is just spray some vinegar on this. Look around for some more because they pop up everywhere around this time of year, and they're very easy to kill off if you handle them when they're young, either by pulling them or by spraying them with something. Now, pretty much the only thing that I really like to spray with is vinegar. I don't like using anything harsher unless I absolutely have to. And yes, I could pull these, but we have a lot of them in our yard. So if I can catch them when they're really small and I can just give them a couple squirts of vinegar, it really doesn't harm the soil or anything around them. If I keep it targeted to that little weed, it's just easier. I also like using vinegar spray instead of hand pulling in areas like this that are right next to our asphalt driveway. This area is really difficult to hand pull for some reason. Often I pull weeds out of here, and this is a very weedy area. I pull them out of here, but they break off and I don't end up getting the root out. So I just spray our teeny tiny baby annual weeds here with vinegar and hope that it takes care of most of them. One of the things to keep in mind when you're using a horticultural vinegar to kill weeds is that when I say it's a contact herbicide, I mean it is a contact herbicide for everything it touches. So my husband sprayed some weeds for me a couple years ago when we first moved in, and I had a teeny tiny baby clematis plant. He sprayed the clematis plant by accident, or maybe it even got a little bit of overspray from spraying something next to it, and that plant was dead the next day. It killed it, completely dead, no hope of coming back. So do not spray this, and look out for your overspray on anything that you do not want to be harmed, because if it touches the foliage, it will kill it. So I've got this tiny little weed here next to a little sage propagation I planted last fall. So I put the spray bottle super close and put it on the more precision spray and just sprayed it like that so that it would not get on the sage plant. Like I said, this is not something that's typically effective on perennial plants, which sage is, and this plant is a perennial plant in my grow zone 7. However, also like I've said, I have seen it kill off a baby clematis plant, so better safe than sorry when you're spraying it. This area of dead nettle here is a good example of somewhere that I'm going to go in and hand pull, because this is a plant, and even though it is a perennial plant, I want to be careful that I don't have any adverse effects. So I'm just going to go in here and hand pull any of this stuff that is like right planted, kind of sprouting up on the inside of this. And if I end up letting something go a little bit too long and the leaves really start maturing and it starts spreading out, then I will come in and hand pull it, because this is really only an effective method on very, very immature and small annual weeds. It's best to do your vinegar spray on a hot and sunny day, but I'm actually targeting some winter weeds that pop up here in Maryland. So today is pretty much the best I can get. I know it's not supposed to snow or rain or anything for the next couple days, so it will have enough time to sit on those leaves and sufficiently fry it, even though there's not a ton of sun, before it rains and melts it away. Because honestly, if it touches the plant, even if you wash off the plant like within a couple minutes, it's still going to damage the plant. If you're concerned about exposing your pets to horticultural vinegar, I would keep them inside when you're spraying it and for a certain period of time afterward, depending on the weather conditions where you are. Touch base with your vet to see what they say about the time between spraying and letting your animal kind of free range around where you've sprayed. It's not as much of a concern for us because we don't have dogs that we let outside. So definitely ask your vet what they have to say about the waiting period before spraying this in your yard if you have animals you're concerned about. Okay, so to recap, horticultural or industrial strength vinegar can be highly effective on annual broadleaf weeds when they are very, very young. And that's because they have very shallow root systems, because they are so young and they are annual, and because the vinegar is only going to be killing the parts of the plant that are above ground. Make sure you treat it like you would treat working with any other pesticide. So protect all of your orifices, protect your hands, protect your arms, everything. You should not be exposing your skin to industrial strength vinegar because it is highly caustic. It is not like table vinegar, and you should not be inhaling it. So that about covers using the vinegar to knock out some young annual broadleaf weeds. Hopefully it dispelled some rumors for you about whether or not you can use vinegar to kill weeds. Until my next video, happy planting!